Now we're in Dcad lesson 12J, and we're still dealing with the site plan. This is going to be kind of interesting because one of the things that we need to start thinking about is what drawings we're putting on what sheets. And typically, after the site plan usually is on sheet 1, the next sheets are usually having to do with the elevation drawings, and after that the floor plans, and then after that sometimes it'll be wall bracing plans, and then foundation plans, and if there's floor framing, there'll be floor framing all the way on through the roof, and so on and so forth. So right now we have quite a bit of space down here, but one of the things that I neglected to do at the end of the last lesson was to go up and save. And you see this little asterisk up here. That means the drawing has not been saved since the last actions were taken. So if you see that asterisk in a title bar for any of the drawings, that means it needs to be saved. So I'm going to go up and save it right now, and that you see the asterisk goes away. So I'm unsure of how much space we will have here at 1/4 inch scale. And so there's actually a few different things that we need to do. One of them is to take a look at the elevation drawings and to see how big they are and how they might fit on this, because we'll have 4 of them, north, south, east, and west elevations. So what I'm going to do in order to determine that, and one of the things to keep in mind is that we're at different scales. The scale for this drawing is 1 inch equals 10 feet. The scale for the elevations, floor plans, and all that on our main master drawing is 1/4 inch scale. And so that's a significant difference. And so if we go importing those, and we want to use that 1/4 inch scale for elevations, because people that are building it need to be able to see what it really looks like without using a magnifying glass. And if we import them at this 1 in 10 scale, the garage is going to be the size of this garage here, which is really going to be pretty small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up our primary main working drawing, and I'm going to go to layers, and I'm going to scroll on down to layer 45 and make that active and hide all the other stuff. Click OK and scroll on down there, and there we are. Well, we have exterior openings. We might as well just, I don't need that for right now, because really what I'm trying to do is to determine how much room we'll need on that site plan and whether or not these elevations are going to fit on it. If they're not going to fit on it, maybe I could put 2 of them on it and then 2 on following sheets, or if they're just too big, I can use the site plan and even put some details on it or whatever, just to not waste a lot of paper space, so to speak. So I'm going to go ahead and just select this right now, and I'm going to hit Control-C to copy it. And so let me go back to layers and pull up layer 1, because it's important to understand that we're actually doing the largest. Click OK. We're actually doing the largest axis to test this, because we're wider than we are deep in this garage. So this is why I'm using this front elevation to size it on the site plan. So I can go ahead and close this now. I'm not going to need this anymore. I've already copied it to the clipboard with Control-C, so I don't want to save anything there. I'm back in the site plan. So now I'm going to hit Control-V to import it, and see how it's kind of small, just like the other garage, And so I'm going to stick it down here and go to layers, and image is turned off. So here's the differences in those scales. The drawing to be quartered to act as a 1/4 inch scale in a 1 inch equals 10 equals 10 foot scale means that I have to do one of 2 things. I either have to enlarge this garage 2.5 times to be able to use it at the 1 foot equals 10 foot scale, or I have to shrink down the site plan 0.4 times, which is a reciprocal of 2.5, in order to in order to be able to use that effectively. So what I want to do is I want to use the 1/4 inch scale, and that means that I want to actually change the scale of the site plan drawing. So I have this, I'm going to get rid of this garage. I'm just going to hit Control Z. That will make it like it never existed in the drawing. And I'm going to show you something here. I'm going to zoom up on this, and you can, we have these various dimensions everywhere, and so these dimensions are actual dimensions. If I change the scale of the drawing, it's going to change the dimensions. So to illustrate it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control W, and I'm going to draw a line that's just 100 feet long. Okay, so I'm hitting V for vector. I'm setting a point by hitting the 0, and I'm going to hit point relative. I'm going to hit enter in 100 and hit enter, and I'm hitting enter again to initiate the command. So this line is, if I click on it and open up the info box, it's going to tell me that this length of this line is 100. So now I can use the units command and change the scale of the entire drawing using the units command. But what that's going to do is that's going to change my dimensions. So I'm going to show you. So now if I hit U for units, and I right click here and then right click here, it's going to show me 100. Now if I'm converting this to 1/4 inch scale, that would be 0.4. I would say that's 40 feet. 0.4 is 40% or 40 feet or whatever. And now I'm going to hit OK. And now let's see what these dimensions look like. Wow. You know, we're only 10.68 feet from the rear property line. We're in real trouble here, you know. So so I'm going to hit Control Z to undo that, and you'll see the dimensions change back. Control Z. That didn't work. But what will work is going back to that dimension line and saying that that's 100 instead of 40. So if I hit U for units again and click on this, it's saying it's 40 now. So I can just enter in 100 and it'll take it back. I didn't know that Control Z wouldn't work on when you change units. So I'm going to zoom back up, and now you can see that we're 26.70 feet. You know, so what we've learned from this is that if we're going to import 1/4 inch scale drawings into 1 inch equal 10 foot scale drawings, and we want to use a 1/4 inch scale, then we have to do something about the dimensions. Otherwise, they're going to change if we change the scale. So here's what we're going to do. Control W, and I'm going to just zoom up specifically on the site plan itself because it has the dimensions that we're concerned about. And what I'm going to do now is every dimension that I have, there's a couple ways that I can do this. I can just select each dimension, each one, you know, just and hold down Shift and right click to the next one, and until it, you know, have all the dimensions selected, which is really pretty easy. And because what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to explode these dimensions. Another way to do it, if you want to just select them all, is to go over here to the selection filter, click on that, go to entity type, and go down to dimension, and then add that to the box. This is just, I'm just showing another way here. And now that we have dimension in the selection filter, it'll only select dimensions, theoretically. And then I can click remove and close. And so now you can see that all the dimensions are selected. Just another way to do it. I'm going to escape, but I'm going to do it the first way. I'm just going to right click, and hold down Shift, right click, and right click. And I think that's all the dimensions in the drawing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to the explode, or selection explode. So those things that are selected are going to explode. There no longer will be dimensions. They'll be lines or arrows and text, basically. And now when I click that, you can see that all the various points. So I can zoom up now, and for some reason when it does that, it changes the text to a different type of text, and so it's just calling it text instead of 2D text. And I like the 2D text because it's a little bit fainter, and actually, so that's actually even the foot mark is just a separate text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control W and pull the info box out of the way a little bit. I'm going to zoom up on this area of the hit Z for zoom, and select text only. And because we're starting to get a lot of clutter there, I want to make sure that I'm only selecting text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that selection filter and go down to text. Actually, it's text 3D, and add that to it. And click on it, see if it selects it. Sure enough, it does. So I'm going to just use that text 3D, and I'm going to go out of point select mode because I'm going to be using the selection rectangle for multiple selections. And I'm just going to select one, and then hold down Shift and get the rest of them, making sure that I get that little foot mark also. And there, and there, and there. And I believe, is that all the text? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like we got it. So I'm going to just remove that, close it, and I'm going to go back into point select mode so I can see my points. And now I'm going to go over here to my toolbox and scroll down till I get to the one that says text convert. And when I click on that, it's going to convert it into 2D text. And you can see it just got thinner. So if I zoom up on it, it'll look just like the other text. So Control W, so that's been taken care of. The other thing that we still need to do on the site plan, so now we can change scale of the drawing without changing these dimensions, because they're no longer dimensions. Now they're text and arrows and stuff. So I'm going to hit Z and Control W, and I'm going to hit Z again because there's another thing that we need to do. And still in text for the site, we have not dimensioned the property lines themselves. So I'm going to hit, just to find out what they are, I'm going to hit V and go to this corner and right click to it and come to this one and gravity move by hitting the comma. And I can see up there up here in my coordinate bar, I'll do it again, that the distance is 110 feet. So this lot is 110 feet deep from left to right or east to west, or how you want to look at it. And see how long it is along the street there. I'm going to gravity move, and I can see up there in the coordinate that when I gravity move, it's 60 feet. So it's 110 by 60, and these property lines are the same. So I'm going to hit T and type 110.00 feet. And I want to be 90 on my text angle. I'm just going to go here and hit T, and it still has the last text that I used in there, so I'm just going to bring that on down to the lower portion here and left click. And then I'm going to hit T again. And again, keep in mind, we were 60 feet along the street, or on the west property line. You can see that again up here. So I'm going to hit T and type 60.00 feet. And this time I'm going to just left click here, and I'm going to select it and hit R, tab minus 90, and M for move, and just move it into this location, and then hit N to duplicate it on this rear property line. Put it down here. Okay, so now we have our actual property dimensions also. Control W. And so now we left it at the 1 inch equals 10 feet scale, and we can verify that by our 100-foot line here by just selecting it, for that matter, and pulling it up here, and we can see that the length of that line is 100 feet. So now I can change that to 40 feet so that I can use quarter-inch scale items in this drawing, and everything will be just fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it. I'm going to actually just hit U for units, And I'm going to right click to this end and right click to this end, and you see it comes up 100. I'm going to change that to 40 and hit OK. So now when I select this line, you can see right here the length is 40 feet. But if I zoom up on the dimension, it's still the same because it's no longer a dimension, it's text. You can see right here it says text 2D in the info box. Hit escape, Control W. I'm going to save right now. And so we're not going to actually import the elevations right now. But what I do want to, because we're going to do some work on them as far as the, some notations on them, sheet notes on them, in the actual working drawing. But I want to make sure that 4 elevations will fit into the site plan before I get too carried away. And the reason is I'm going to be having sheet notes for elevation drawings over here too that'll be added into this. So I can't remember if I've imported anything else in the clipboard, but I'm going to try it. Control V, and look at here. Okay, so there's my elevation drawing, and I'm going to hit N and N just to see if, and hit N again. So I think that even with our sheet notes and stuff on that, we're going to easily be able to get 4 elevation drawings onto this first sheet. So for now, I'm going to hit Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, and Control Z, and get rid of this guy. Actually, I'll just leave it on for now, so that we remember where we're at. And so now our site plan is all set up to import elevation drawings that are of a different scale. And so that concludes our Dcad lesson for 12J for the site plan.